Great. Well, we'll look forward to a lot more polls and interaction from you as we get going. But now it's time to introduce and bring on our first guests. And when we talk about transformation in the automotive industry, Volkswagen Group firstly stands as one of the clearest and strongest examples, notably in areas of electrification and digitalization and sustainability. Here in Europe, the group is, of course, transforming more production sites for EV with a remarkable shift of its supply chain map, but is looking also much more carefully at strategic logistics systems, processes, and partnerships. Volkswagen Konzernlogistik, Group Logistics, is the multi-brand organization steering central logistics and efficiency programs, and Matthias Braun has the exciting, if not challenging, task of leading on logistics digitalization and new concepts across logistics. And so I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to hear from Matthias and get a good sense of the group's vision for its logistics and reflect on the evolution of the supply chain here in Europe and beyond. Matthias, such a pleasure to have you with us.
Hello, Chris. Good morning to everybody. Great to be here at this event. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So we're going to hand over to Matthias for a short presentation. He'll join me at the end for right after for Q&A. Put your questions through all along and we'll get to it. Over to you, Matthias.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. And hello again to the audience. And what a pity not to see all you live in a conference room. But I try to give you some insights from us within Group Logistics, what we think the future might look like and what might be interesting to discuss with you also after my short presentation. And I thought it wouldn't make sense to bring you this shiny new perfect slides with all of our great products that we have and the sales slides that we have. But I want to get you quickly into our mindset that we have within logistics in the Volkswagen Group, what we are responsible for and what our daily business is within that complexity that we try to work in and that we have to live in every day. With all of our 8,500 suppliers worldwide that we have, our component plants, which are transferring more and more towards more electrified components that we are producing. Our vehicle plants, multi-brand plants, more and more to come, where we produce not only one brand, but a lot of brands based on our platforms that we have. And finally, we are lucky enough to distribute all of our beautiful cars that we have to more than 150 sales markets. This is our complexity network that we are working in every day, and this is quite a challenging task that we have, and these days not to talk about semiconductors or not to have a specific presentation towards digitalization is also challenging because the expectation might be different. I would love to take you to a journey more towards what is the future to come and what do we see as the perspective, what we have to take in consideration thinking about the future. But thinking about the future is always stepping to the past and say, what is our origin? Where do we come from? And we, as a group logistics organization, we have started in the 90s, where we were responsible for the transport organization for Volkswagen and Audi, the only brands within those days who were combined in the transport organization. Within the last years, we have developed a multi-brand logistic organization, trying to grab all the synergies that we have within the Volkswagen structures, within our supply chain, and also our distribution network that we have, and also being a governor for the plants and trying to support them best way possible in order to make the standardization and also digitalization, new technologies, everything that is necessary to bring it to life without spending too much efforts in parallel in all the plants that we have. Knowing that, we also know that a lot more is to come, which might be more from the outside, and you can make your own interpretation about the pictures that I've put in there. They are so full of different aspects that I now want to share with you. What might the future look like, and what are the aspects and the trends that we have to look at when we talk about the future? We all know, and the future is really difficult. Making prediction is difficult, especially when you are looking to the future. But also another thing is that the best way to predict the future is to shape it, and by shaping the future, you should know what are the main impacts that you have to consider when we talk about the future. And I want to share with you 3 different aspects that we have pointed out by discussing the future trends. And the first aspect that we have there is the business trends. We are quite aware, and Chris, you also mentioned it, the sustainable economy is more and more to come. I don't know, not even one company which you asked that wouldn't say, well, sustainability, greener, and whatever is one of the major topics that we have to focus on. And I think all of us, even if we are in the OEM on the first or end tier or in the logistic industry focus, we have to be more sustainable. We have to go into more towards that direction. And this is the major topic that also our children and grandchildren are asking and will ask us, what have we done and what have we changed to make this world also a lovely place to live within the next decades. But also another business trend is that the sharing economy will take more and more place, and it's not owing things or owing your own asset is the future, but sharing your properties that you have and your assets that you have, and also sharing your networks. Speaking from a logistic perspective, is one of the major topics that we see that is coming more and more, where we see that there are transport platforms that are not only dedicated for one customer or dedicated for one logistic service provider carrier. It's more like sharing and bringing different customers and different service providers together to one platform and making there a more usable part of it and taking these possibilities to make it more efficient and to make new business models also perhaps in the future. The other aspects that we see, and also I think most of you might share this vision or this trend for the future that we have from the society perspective, things that we have to take in consideration. The shortage of trained, educated, and sometimes also motivated people will also affect us tremendously. There is a lot of war for talents that we all know, especially if you're talking about those guys who are able, what you can see on the left-hand side, to code all the programs that we need for making more digital solutions, etc. But we also do have a war of talents and lack of capacities if we think about the daily business, the ones that are moving the goods from A to B, the drivers, the forklift drivers, those who are in the picking areas or whatever. So we have to be aware that we have both. We need both the blue collar workers who are able to move the goods physically from A to B, but also the ones to make all of our working more digital and more transparent and more connected, those who are the ones to code the programs. And we are there in a highly competitive environment where we see a lot of things where we within logistics are not in the pole position, because we are not the number one favorite for those who make their final degree at a university, or those who are leaving school and want to enter the work life. So this is really something where we also have to work on our performance towards the public, how they really see us, and how sexy it is to work within logistics. And this is really a difficult thing that we have to focus on. And we have to invest a lot of money into knowledge society also, in order to make people really ready to follow what we are doing, and to make them able to work within the things that we want them to work in. And we have to, not only for those who come inside our companies, we also have to invest a lot of money inside the companies for our own R&D job that we need to do within logistics, within the companies who are the logistic companies, but also the ones to train our people that we have at the moment within our companies, in our offices, in our trucks, whatever, to make them able to work with the new technologies and the new also requirements that we have, that they are able to work with that new things that we have in our mind. And finally, the technology trend, and this is the perfect link to the knowledge that we have to transfer to our people, that we have to train them. There are new technologies to come. If we talk about sustainability, we are forced to use more greener technologies in order to make our environment more sustainable and more green. So there are a lot of new things that we have to take in our mind when new technologies come to make it more sustainable. It starts just with a simple example of how to fill a tank with LNG instead of a normal diesel. So there might be some changes, but at least there is a need for training and respecting also the driver's needs in this aspect. Logistic 4.0, the digitalization, the digital twin and everything that comes with that also requires new ways of thinking, new ways of technologies that we need to put in place also within our responsibility within logistics, or if it's in-house logistics, production logistics, if it's inbound logistics, if it's vehicle distribution logistics, if it's after sales, whatever. So it's all the same. We do need there to work with new things like RFID tags on our containers, if it's new ways of handhelds that we provide them, or the smartphone that they can use. And also at the end of the day, there might be some augmented reality, virtual reality that can be used within the job that is daily done in our logistic operations, but also in our logistic planning activities. So there are a lot of new technologies that will come, that will change the way we are working today and how people should behave within the logistic environment in the future. So these are three of the trends that we see, business, society, and technology trends that will come up in the next weeks, months, years. A trend is hardly to predict when it will come, but they are, in our opinion, sure to come. If not, they are already in place and we have it. So they are really substantial for our description and prediction of the future. But when we see that on the way to that and to more sustainable and efficient logistics, we have a lot of challenges that we have to overcome within the next years. We have pointed out some of the topics that you might also know, but this is not a full complete list of all the challenges that we have in the future. Surely there is the data quality and availability of data, and also the connectivity of data that we have outside of our company silos or within our company silos. So there is a lot that we have to do. We have also the systems. I mean, you might all know at least, or still have it within your companies, the black screens with the green letters on it. So we do have quite old systems, and also we have a complex system landscape that we have to manage every day. So this is something that we also have to overcome, and we have to make up our mind how we will develop our digital world within our organizations in the future. Right skills at the right place. Easy said, but hard to be done, or difficult to be done. We need also to make up our mind, if we change something, what is the new role that somebody has to play? What is the new competence that somebody needs in the future? We have also to predict not only how the future will look like, but also what the requirements for these people are working within this workplace. And by knowing this, we also have to make our plan how to develop and transform people and train and educate them, that they are able, once the new technologies are in place, that they are able also then to work with that. Financial security and where to invest in. This is really a tough topic. We know logistics is not one of the most beneficial things that we can do in the industry, but we need to invest money into the future, and therefore it's more than necessary that everybody within this logistic society needs to know what is the path towards the future where I need to invest in. There are so many things that are coming within or to our companies from outside, where everybody said this is the latest thing that you need to invest in. Wow, it's hard to really to make up your mind what really leads me toward the future. What is the one step behind the other? But you need really to make up your mind and then to be able to finance into the future of your company and what is necessary to be done. Because this only makes you able to have the new technologies available within your companies and within your responsibility to make you more robust in this disruptive environment. Development of own identity. Within this changing future, what is then my new role? And this will I will close this presentation with this question. You by changing the environment, it's always difficult to say what is my role and my identity, which is more than essential for you, your company, and your colleagues working within your organization, that you still remain with your identity, your core identity that gives you the daily wow effect that really makes you happy every day. And well, just be aware of the fast-growing disruptive environment that's coming up. There are so many new startups coming. There are so many new business models coming. You have to be aware of that, and you have to position yourselves with the identity that I've mentioned, that you keep your place within the game. Otherwise, it might be difficult to continue. With all of this challenges that we can see here, what is then the reaction? What should then be the first step, or are you shocked and remain like the rabbit when the snake attacks it? Well, this is also not the best solution to that. You have to make the first step, and the first step in our opinion was to make your target picture. We have developed our target picture for this change towards the future within the group logistics responsibilities, and also for the material logistics, the inbound logistics within the Volkswagen Group. And you can see in the center the circle that connects the suppliers on the left-hand side to our plants, and circles back. Connects it first with the material transports, with all of the transport modes possible, and then bringing the empty containers back to the suppliers. And we see this as a circle, and this is really one of the first things that came up in the discussion. Say, yes, we have to think in a circle and not of two separate supply chains. And then the main topic in this is to grab all the information necessary and available within that circle. That brings us to the position that we really have this diamond of information available that we can use on the bottom line for all the optimization that we want to bring in to our processes, where you can see where we have drawn some pictures that might illustrate automated processes, automated vehicles, automated unloading or loading and pick out of the containers. That is more than necessary. Without this transparency and having the data, you will never be able to make optimization on a daily business, in the shop floor, wherever you want to make optimization. But also this helps you on the upper level to make more this strategic planning and everything that comes with it. To have it there also, the possibility to work with this new ways of this automation also in the office processes that we have. We have the possibility to make more strategic planning. So AI prediction, everything that comes with these buzzwords is necessary to have it first as in this middle layer, to have the information, and then you can use it, and then you can really make an added value out of it. And that's why we say this is our core, where we can, with that information, we can create an environment that's much more sustainable for us, because we know where we can avoid transports, where we can avoid empties flowing back in too far away, or where we can use really new technologies as they are now coming and ramping up within the next years. And this also brings us the possibility to switch towards more automation and digitalization. This is that's why we say this is the core, how we can start our way of building the path towards the future. This is some kind of our North Star that we have that guides us through all of the discussions that are coming from inside, but also from outside the company, that protects us in a certain way, that we don't have to follow every information that we get, but we can challenge every information that we get from inside or outside the company with our target goal that we have, our target picture that we have, and say, is it really crucial for us or not? And we're ready to invest money and people to go more in detail and say, does this bring an added value to us, or is it more just like having a shiny, nice lighthouse project which doesn't have really a benefit to us? And coming from this point, there are some activities just quickly to share with you where we are now going more into detail. We are 100% convinced that electrifying the fleets with all the trucks that we are using in the future, this will take some time, but at the end of the 20s, we will be at the point that the BEV trucks will be ready, and also for long haul distances, not also for the final distribution. This will be the way towards more sustainable future for us to achieve the climate targets that we have committed to. And there we are within our company with Scania and MAN. We are there in these discussions how to bring this to life and make there also a path towards making our transports more sustainable by using this BEV trucks that are already existing in some editions, but still to come for other routes where we need this long haul, also BEV ready for us. Another topic that we really see that will come in the future, and also we also talk about the end of the 20s, where electrification will start at the mid-20s, so within the next 3 or 4 years. For our purposes, automated transports will come, I think, a little bit later in my perspective, but they will come also and be available in other ways that we have now to start learning how to use automated trucks, by having teleoperated trucks as one of the bridge towards the really self-driving trucks in the future. We will start there a pilot project within one of our plants to have teleoperated automated driving trucks ready, so that we can learn the use cases, that we learn where really the challenges are by using these new technologies, and where we will find also ways of how we can also bring us into that new logistic technologies and how we can use it in the future. So this is also one of the things where we see a lot of possibilities for more efficiency in the logistic chain, and possibility also for us to use these technologies within our daily businesses. And last but not least, this is also the brokerage platforms will also be one of the things that we will see more and more in the future to come. The shared economy, as I've mentioned it earlier, is one of the tasks or the topics that we will have to face, and we will have to discuss internally how we will use it and how it can be integrated within our also regulations that we have within such a big company as the Volkswagen Group in total. But we are convinced that brokerage platforms will be more and more to come, and where we have to find our solution to get connected to that platforms also, in order to make a shared community of transports or assets, whatever is there to come. So by taking this all into account, there are, even if we know how we will develop our path towards the future with what kind of technologies and what is our focus, etc., etc. There are still some questions open that are quite interesting to be discussed. So if we see teleoperated or self-driving trucks in the future, who will operate them? If we do have some kind of brokerage platforms, who will keep the customer contact? If we see the electrified trucks in the future, who will invest in infrastructure? Because we need some different infrastructure than the passenger cars. Who will invest in the assets? If we talk about self-driving, electrified, whatever trucks, where you need some new hubs or anything else, or if we see about the combined traffic, if you combine an electrified self-driving truck with the railroad, well, there's some new challenges to come in order to combine these transport modes, because I personally, I haven't touched it during my presentation. I think one of the elements that we all should have more in our mind and focus is also the train transports and the combined transports between the transport modes that we have in general. If it's shipping or ship, or if it's train, or if it's truck, and we have to combine them more easy. And there we need also more investment into that assets, and who determines also the technology to come. So there are some interesting questions if you take the future perspective, like I've drawn it into consideration. And then the resulting question out of the who is which kind of partnership will arise if we do have the new partners there that haven't met before. Will we meet in the future, and will we really like this kind of relationship, and how can we make the best working mode out of that? What are the new business areas that will emerge if we see teleoperated driving? So there might be a new business area that will come, and also a new perspective towards the future for new job models that we see. And which connections are inevitable? What are the things that we really need to focus on in the future? What are the things that we have now today to work on, that tomorrow they will be brought to life and will be a substantial normal way of all of collaborating? So these are the things that we have in our mind, without presenting you the answers to the questions, because, to be honest, some of the questions I have an idea, but I don't have the clear answer to that. I would love to get into discussion with you as the audience. And thanks for the attention. And well, getting back to you, Chris, and to the questions.
Thank you, Matthias. I would call it a tour de force of the supply chain there, in terms of taking through the mega trends and transformations that we're seeing. We've had a lot of positive response from the audience already, particularly a few picking up on the circular economy topics that you mentioned, many feeling that perhaps the automotive industry is even a bit behind in that, or the supply chain is. So some real areas to develop and focus on. One of the points I wanted to start with, you mentioned there about changes in the wider ecosystem, in terms of who will invest, manage processes, interact with customers. And I'm just wondering how you see, could you tell us a little bit more about how you see group logistics playing a role here, obviously as an integrator of services, perhaps in some cases an investor. You run some transport equipment, you're quite a varied bit. So how do you see that evolving?
Well, first of all, I see us as one of a good partner for all of the companies who are running the business today. So first of all, I want to be a partner for the logistics companies that are in this business at the moment, and I want to have this kind of open discussion with everybody in order to shape the future together, because we have our own ideas, and but our idea is not the one that might become in the future. Our role remains, in the first instance, that we will be the internal service provider for our plants and brands. So we have to assure that the latest technology with the highest sustainable impact and the lowest cost will be available for us within group logistics, and the logistic within the group. And therefore, we have to seek and we have to collaborate more intensively with partners that are outside of the company, and we need to be there open, also to discuss with our partners about their requirements to shape the future and to cope with our expectations that we have. And that's why I think we will go more towards more intensified collaborations than making just only contracts in the future. And we have to be also to make a more dominant role within the Volkswagen Group in total, to say, hey, logistics is one of the key aspects. If you want to shape the future of automotive industry, then we have to be able to invest also more money into these areas.
So that's interesting. So as you mentioned, not in effect, not just purchasing the services, but really playing an active role in managing, designing, and partnering with the experts who are doing that.
Yeah, this is crucial, I think, because within my experience that I have since for the last years, and all the discussions with service providers, even if they are big companies or just small family-owned companies, it's always more than important to interchange your view of the future, because they are so different in some aspects. I mean, the discussion about the BEV trucks. If I take this as an example. Even for me, half a year ago, I wouldn't have stated out the same statement as I did it some minutes ago, because the world changes so fast and dramatically that you have to be always up to the point what's really the latest status of the technology development. And that's why it's so crucial to discuss with your partners their vision of the future and your vision of the future, and how to create something combined to make it happen in the future also.
Fantastic. So you highlighted in the presentation a number of interesting technologies and changes, whether it's AR, VR, freight brokerage, logistics digitalization in action. As you mentioned, things change so fast. I mean, a few years ago, it may still happen, but a few years ago, it was all about blockchain. Blockchain will transform everything. I wondered, Can you give us any examples of things that maybe you've either tried or looked into, but just maybe aren't ready yet, mature yet? Because I think that must be an important part of making digitalization decisions as well, right? What's not the right time to implement now?
Yeah, well, it's funny that you raised the blockchain topic, because this is one of the examples where we have made up our mind and experience that there are a lot of things coming from outside that bring us to say there's a cool new technology that might be useful. Just try it and do it. And there's some of also within our company, some colleagues who say, hey, we have to do it. My main question was, what is the added value that this new technology brings us? I don't make any implementation of a new technology just because of the technology. I always do it because I see there is an added value or the perspective of an added value. And blockchain is one of the best examples to that. There might be really good use cases for using blockchain. In our business at the moment, there is no added value to that. Therefore, this is a good example. Where we are struggling at the moment is this big issue of a data lake. This is so challenging also. It's easy said, but it's difficult to be realized, to have the technology, to have the information also connectable. And we are struggling to really implement that. But this is, I'm convinced that the way is the right one, but how to make the way towards having really different data lakes and to have the connection between the data lakes, this is still something difficult.
Fascinating to talk more about that. One other thing you highlighted is a skills shortage, and it's something we'll be addressing across this event as well. Where do you see some of the most significant gaps, whether that's internally or with suppliers, and how are you working with your partners and teams to address them?
Well, surely the coding guys are the ones who are who we are seeking most, but also in the peak where the whole economy was at its peak, we saw also a shift from those who supported us in as a forklift driver or whatever towards the automotive or assembly industry, wherever they went to, because they liked it more than driving a forklift. So that it depends a little bit on how the economic situation is, but we need to have more enthusiasts in people who want to understand the processes and make from this knowledge out, then bring it to a digital level. And these are the guys and the boys and girls, the ladies and gentlemen that we need within our companies. People who are trained in coding, but also understanding the processes. It's like having this process mining as a topic in our mind. People who are able, some 10 or 15 years ago, we were value stream mapping. People who had open eyes to see and understand. Now we need people with open eyes and codes in their blood in order to make the right things out of what they have seen.
So when we talk about codes in the blood, what about artificial intelligence and machine learning? Obviously, there's so much potential here. Do you see it already playing an active role in logistics and supply chain decision making, or do you see that coming in the near future?
It will be one of the major things in the future. I'm 100% convinced about that this will be one of the major things that will bring a change in the way of working. AI, predictive analytics, everything is in my opinion, really something where we still are not where we can be in the future, because we all see, I think some of you guys there outside might also support that theory from my side. Or that experience from my side, we are missing a lot of information in order to use AI. So the first, and we have started within my or within the group logistics also a project where that we call transparency in the supply chain. First of all, to put the supply chain transparency as the basic layer, and then from that on, you can then put some assistance systems, some applications that can then lead towards AI solution that helps you to make the right decisions, or even takes the responsibility for that. But this is a process that you have to start with some basic things where we thought that we know that we are not on that standard. And then we have from that on, we can go one step further every day, and this is where we are working towards.
Of course, we know that implementing EV supply chains requires many new components, and I just thought, from a logistics digitalization concept point of view, how are you seeing, or are you seeing changes or anticipating changes as you ramp up EV production and distribution?
Yeah, there are some different aspects that we have to cover by taking into consideration the EV logistics. First of all, from the transport concept, we there have 100% train transport. So in order to make it really visible that it's not only a sustainable engine, let's name it like that. Also, it's a sustainable transport that we're using, as we're using green energy for our trains there. And yes, there are some other things that we need, and at least within the automotive logistics, that we need to have that sensors within the wagons in order to have more information what's going on during the transport. But it's more to use the possibility also to make more optimization within the processes, and making the loading and unloading process. The connection between the inbound and the in-house process is now a highly efficient new challenge that we have taken, but that we have started, that we have well implemented in our plant in Zwickau, connecting it with our plant in Braunschweig. So yes, we have taken the opportunity with the new models and the new products that we have there, also to implement new sensors, new digital information that we can use, but also new physical automation in the process. And yeah, this is really a challenge that opportunity that we took.
Yeah, and I think it's important there that emphasis on the sustainable supply chain for the electric supply chain speak as well. This is something we're going to pick up quite a bit more. We have a few minutes left, and we'll use as much of the time as we can here on that sustainability topic. I think there's a lot we can talk about here, but I think firstly on the visibility of Volkswagen Group's emissions. We talk about current, tertiary, and potential in the supply chain. simply, does the group have this visibility right now?
I think we've been really early in this discussion within Group Logistics. We have developed our own tool to make our CO2 footprint visible for all of our transport modes worldwide, not only within Europe but also worldwide. And we do have the possibility to count every transport in a CO2 way also. And this brings us, since several years now, the possibility to know where we have the highest footprint, and also what kind of measures and actions we have to take in order to reduce them. And we have their own team, and my dear colleague Ansgar Hermes is there in charge of the transport network within Europe. He and his team, and also supported by some guys from my team, we are now developing, creating with the plants together the path towards the more sustainable transports there, based on on knowing what kind of CO2 emission we are producing every day. But there also, we cannot do this on our own. We have to do it in collaboration with our partners. And we have there to match our goals with the goals from our partners. A lot of the companies do have their own company goals towards zero emission or whatever, and we have to align them, and we have to bring them with, and we have to bring the knowledge together and say, hey, what kind of competences do you have? What kind of technologies do you want to see? What kind of roadmap do you have? And we have to bring that together to make the best out for the new sustainable world.
On that point, and I know we're running short on time, but several of the questions and comments which are kind of coming through now have exactly picked up on this collaboration point and want to know if you think, are you open to collaboration, for example, to reduce emissions, and related, do you think shared assets like containers and shared transport assets can support on that as well?
Mm-hmm. My personal opinion is that there's no other way than having more collaboration. The investment for the future is so high, and we have to be aware of that within, let's say, the logistic community. And we are one logistic community, even that we are working for different companies. And it's our responsibility to openly discuss the possibilities, the way towards the future, and what is required from both sides. And I when I say from both sides, I really say both sides and mean both sides. That we really listen to what the requirements of the service providers are, and what our expectation is, and what our possibilities are.
Fantastic. There's a number of other questions we won't quite get to here, but we will pick them up with you, and obviously I hope our audience will engage with you. But just to sort of close, Matthias, as we've kind of been alluding to across the session, long-term change requires long-term partnerships. So what would be your closing advice here for those companies looking to work more closely with Group Logistics on this transformation?
Well, make this, even if you've done it, or at least start the discussion about what is your future perspective. What do you think should the future look like for your company, for you being part of the supply chain in total, and what is your asset that you bring into this value chain? And then come to us and discuss it with us, because I don't think that everything that I've mentioned is then the 100% of the future of the world. I mean, there are so many different aspects that we have to take in consideration. So please, let's share it. That's why we are here. That's why we want to use this kind of platform also to make that interchange of different ways of thinking of how the world should look like in the future. And then, well, let's make the best out of it for us as a logistic community.
Couldn't have said it any better. Absolutely, that's what this platform here is about. So I want to firstly thank you, Matthias, for all of your insights and joining us here this morning in conversation. We look forward to following up with these details, and we have obviously more to hear from you in the near future as well as from your colleagues. And just to also please, to our audience, you heard from Matthias, engage. Right here on the platform, you can contact and reach out to colleagues at the group, and I'm sure afterwards if you need to get in touch. So let's do that and support that and work together as needed. Thanks again, Matthias. We'll be taking just a couple of minutes break here. We'll be back on the hour with the next session. See you right then.